She had not slept in 3 days. She had traveled straight from human space to the council, driven by a desperate need to prevent anyone else from making the same mistake. "This is what happens," she said quietly, her voice carrying through the translator fields. "When you ignore the warnings. This is what happens when you think you are strong enough, smart enough, different enough. The humans have spent 800 years preparing for this moment. They were not surprised. They were not frightened. They were ready." Matriarch Velshara's crystalline form pulsed with a dim light. "Captain Issa, you have our deepest sympathies for your loss. But we must understand, did you provoke this attack? Did Ambassador Krelix do something to anger the humans?" "He destroyed a memorial," Issa said. "A platform where 300 humans died 2 centuries ago. He used it as a demonstration of our weapons, to show we were superior." She looked around the chamber. "The humans consider their dead sacred. We desecrated a grave. In their eyes, we declared war." "But surely," a young ambassador from the Talarian collective spoke up, "the response was disproportionate? To destroy an entire fleet over one memorial?" Issa turned to look at the Talarian. "You saw the battle. Do you think that was the humans fighting at full strength? They had over 4,000 ships surrounding us. They used maybe 1/10 of their weapons. They could have destroyed us all in minutes. Instead, they took ours. They wanted us to understand, truly understand, that we never had a chance." The holographic display changed, showing the data core's full contents. Images from 800 years ago appeared. The civilizing war. The council members watched as their ancestors' fleets attacked human colonies. They watched human cities burn. They watched as humanity, fighting against overwhelming odds, slowly turned the tide of the war. "We always knew humans were dangerous," an elder member spoke. "But we thought time would soften them. We thought 800 years of isolation would make them weaker, more vulnerable." "It did the opposite," Issa said. "Every human child learns military strategy in school. Every civilian knows how to use weapons. Every station can become a fortress in minutes. They have turned their entire civilization into a military force waiting to be activated. And their technology," she pulled up more data. "They use antimatter weapons banned by every galactic convention. They have artificial intelligence that can hack our most secure systems in seconds. They have ships that can accelerate and maneuver at speeds that would kill any of us. Their stealth technology is so advanced that they were watching us from the moment we crossed their border. And we never saw them." "How is their stealth so effective?" a scientist from the Quillian Assembly asked. "Our best sensors should have detected something." "They bend light around their ships," Issa explained. "Not with shields or fields, but by manipulating space-time itself. To our sensors, there's nothing there. Not empty space, literally nothing. No energy signature, no mass reading, nothing. They don't hide their ships. They remove them from our ability to perceive reality." The chamber erupted in panicked conversation. Species that had been confident in their defensive abilities suddenly realized that humans could be anywhere, watching, listening, and they would never know. Matriarch Velshara raised her crystalline arms, and the chamber fell silent. "Captain Issa, in your professional military opinion, could the combined forces of the Galactic Council defeat humanity in open war?" Issa was quiet for a long moment. Every eye in the chamber was on her. She thought about her crew, her friends, the 40,000 Vraxians who had died. She thought about the cold efficiency of the human attack, the perfect coordination, the overwhelming technological superiority. "No," she said finally. "We would lose, even if every species contributed their full military might. Even if we had numerical superiority of 1,000 to 1, we would lose. Humans have spent 8 centuries doing nothing but preparing for war. They have no trade routes to defend, no diplomatic relations to maintain, no internal politics to distract them. They have one purpose: to ensure no one can ever conquer them. They have perfected it." "That cannot be true," the Vraxian High General said from the embassy section. "You are traumatized, Captain. You saw your fleet destroyed. But surely combined council forces—" "General," Issa interrupted, her voice hard. "I watched human ships move in ways that should be impossible. I watched them fire weapons that our shields could not stop. I watched them take control of our computers as if our security meant nothing. And I watched them do all of this while using only a fraction of their fleet. They have 4,000 ships in just one system. The data core shows they have 50 colonized systems. How many ships do you think they have total? 10,000? 50,000? 100,000? The silence that followed was absolute. The math was simple and terrifying. If humanity had even 10,000 ships with the technology Isa described, they could conquer a significant portion of the galaxy before anyone could stop them. Why haven't they? A voice asked from the upper gallery. It was Ambassador Thren of the Peaceful Consortia, a species that had never fought a war. If they are so powerful, why haven't they left their territory? Why haven't they conquered us? Because they don't want to, Isa said. That's what makes them truly dangerous. They're not conquerors. They're survivors. They don't want our territory or our resources. They just want to be left alone. The Treaty of Titan's Moon gave them that. As long as we honor it, they honor it. They're not interested in war, but they're always ready for it. Matriarch Velshara turned to the full council. We must vote on a response. Do we honor the treaty and reinforce the border? Or do we consider the Vraxian fleet's destruction an act of war and respond in kind? War, the Vraxian High General shouted. They killed 40,000 of our citizens. This cannot stand. But Captain Isa stepped forward. General, with respect, they killed 40,000 who invaded their territory. We broke the treaty. We fired first. We desecrated their memorial. By any standard of interstellar law, they acted in self-defense. If we go to war over this, we are the aggressors, and we will lose. You are a coward, the general said coldly. I am a realist, Isa replied. I was there. You were not. I watched them kill us like we were nothing. If you want to send more Vraxians to die, that is your choice. But I will not support it. I will not lead soldiers into a war we cannot win against an enemy who only wants peace. The Vraxian High General stood and stormed out of the chamber. But Isa's words had struck a chord with many of the other species. They had seen the footage. They had heard her testimony. And they understood that this was not about pride or honor. It was about survival. For 3 days, the council debated. War faction argued that allowing humans to destroy a council fleet without response would make them look weak. Peace faction argued that the Vraxians had violated the treaty and deserved their fate. Neutral species tried to find a middle ground. During those 3 days, something else happened. The data core Captain Isa had brought contained more than just battle footage. It contained 800 years of human history. Species throughout the galaxy began to study it, to understand what humanity had become during their isolation. They learned about human culture, which seemed to glorify warriors and sacrifice. They learned about human entertainment, which was filled with stories of underdog victories and never surrendering. They learned about human philosophy, which held that freedom was worth any price, including death. But most disturbing of all, they learned about human weapons development. The data core showed a timeline of technology advancement that made galactic scientists weep. Humans had not stagnated. They had exploded forward. Every year they invented something new, something deadlier, something more efficient at killing. They weaponized everything, Aquilian scientists reported to the council. Technologies we use for mining, they use for weapons. Technologies we use for medicine, they use to develop biological agents. Technologies we use for communication, they use for cyber warfare. Every single advancement in human civilization has a military application. They think in terms of weaponization by default. That's insane, someone said. That's survival, Captain Isa corrected. They were attacked by 40 species. They learned that peace is not given, it must be defended. So they defend it with everything they have. On the 3rd day of debate, something unexpected happened. A transmission came from the edge of human space. It was broadcast to the entire Galactic Council on all frequencies. Captain Sarah Chen appeared on screens across the galaxy. People of the Galactic Council, she said, I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. 800 years ago, our species signed the Treaty of Titan's Moon. We agreed to isolate ourselves, to remain in our designated space, and to never interfere with galactic affairs. In exchange, you agreed to never enter our territory, to never attack us, and to leave us in peace. She paused, and her expression was grave. The Vraxian Empire broke that treaty. They entered our space with a military fleet. They made threats. They fired weapons. They destroyed a memorial to our dead. By the laws of war that we know, by the terms of the treaty itself, we were justified in defending ourselves. We did so. The result is what you have all seen. The transmission showed images of the battle, but from human perspectives. It showed Vraxian ships firing first. It showed the destroyed memorial. It showed everything that led to the human response. We do not seek conflict, Chen continued. We never did. 800 years ago, we asked only to be allowed our own way of life, our own methods, our own choices. The council refused. They demanded we change to fit their ideals. We refused. War resulted. The treaty ended that war. She leaned forward, and her next words carried weight. We will honor that treaty. We will remain in our space. We will not expand. We will not attack. We will not conquer. But we will defend ourselves against anyone who threatens us. The borders exist for your protection, not ours. Remember that. Then her expression softened slightly. I know some of you are debating war. I know some of you think you must respond to save face or honor. I ask you not to make that mistake. We don't want to fight you. We don't want to kill you. We want only to be left alone. Give us that and we give you peace. Force us to fight and we give you annihilation. The transmission showed one final image. Earth, beautiful and blue, floating in space. Around it, barely visible, were the defensive platforms, the orbital stations, the thousands of ships that protected it. This is our home, Chen said softly. We will defend it with everything we have, everything we are, and everything we can become. Choose peace. Choose to honor the treaty. Choose to let us remain as we are, because the alternative benefits no one. The transmission ended. The council chamber was absolutely silent. Some members were frightened. Some were angry, but most were thoughtful. They had heard not a threat, but a plea. Humanity did not want war. They were offering peace, but from a position of absolute strength. Matriarch Velshara spoke into the silence. I propose a vote. All in favor of reaffirming the Treaty of Titan's Moon, of strengthening the border protocols, and of declaring human space permanently off limits to all council species. Indicate now. Lights began to appear throughout the chamber. Green for yes, red for no, amber for abstain. Captain Issa held her breath, watching as the votes tallied. When the count was complete, the result was clear. 691 votes for peace. 156 votes for war. The treaty would stand. The Vraxian delegation walked out of the chamber. They had voted for war and they